Hello and welcome to TAL Radio. At TAL, we connect those who are willing to give to those who are in need. And giving is not an easy task at all. You are listening to a beautiful series called Mindfulness with Dr. J.M. Sampath. And in the last episode or in the previous episode, we actually discussed about human values, core human values, self inquiry, personal growth. Moving on with this series, lovely listeners, dear audience, please, please hang on there. This is going to be a very interesting topic. It's all about excellence and culture, creating a culture of excellence through cultural exchange. And it's my pleasure to have Dr. J.M. Sampath once again with me in the studios of TAL Radio, who is going to navigate us through this beautiful topic and beautiful theme of creating a culture of excellence. So Dr. James Sampath, welcome to TAL Radio. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sandy. I'm all ready to take your questions.
Thank you so much, and I'm ready to fire here. I think, before we really jump onto the question, it's very important to understand what is culture of excellence. So, how would you define it?
I think even before going into culture of excellence, we need to understand the very word excellence and then maybe look at the word culture independent of excellence. For me, excellence is flawlessness in that which we cannot find a flaw. That is excellent. So how do you then continue on the journey towards excellence? Keep finding flaws, correct them only to find the next set of flaws until you come to a day where you don't see a flaw. So for me, excellence is flawlessness. Culture of excellence is how do you, culture is defined as way of life. So do we create a way of life in which we are constantly improving? And on what are we improving? We are improving on something which we were either not doing enough or we were not up to the mark that was possible. Not that what we were doing was bad or not good, but was it the best? I mean, if you take Olympics, in every Olympics, you see that the Olympic record breaks because somebody continued to excel. Somebody continued to find, hey, here is a small little flaw. If I correct, I can maybe jump a little higher. Here's a small little flaw. If I change that action, maybe I can throw the javelin a little longer. Here's a action of mine which doesn't give me the ideal stride length. If I improve that action, maybe I will run faster. So therefore, for me, the journey towards excellence is continuously identifying areas where we can make improvements, for which we need to definitely identify the area in which we are not living our full potential and working on improving that. So that is excellence is flawlessness. Culture is making continuous growth or improvement a way of life.
So, excellence is basically flawless, and cultural, as you mentioned, is actually your way of life. So, it's like in everything, whatever you do in your life, you make it a culture, that you make it your way of living, that you always excel in it.
And to excel, you need to constantly be looking at where is the scope to excel, where is the opportunity to improve, where is the space to do something better than what it is being done today.
And very beautifully, you gave the example of Olympics. In every Olympics, the existing records are actually broken, maybe by the same individual or maybe by different athletes or different sports people. And so beautifully, you put it up that it is always the strive to do what is next because there's a bar which is set,
True.
but to go across that bar and to excel it. Maybe that's how things work in life. Well,
Yeah.
beautifully said and beautifully curated by you, Dr. Sampath. So, moving on, if I may ask, how does one develop a culture of excellence in any organization or in their personal life? I mean, irrespective to the context, but how does one generally do it as such, or how would you do it?
I think whenever somebody is talking or wanting to excel, the first thing that they have to make a commitment is in what to excel. You'll have to choose a field. Like Roger Federer said, he will excel in tennis. Does somebody else says, I will excel in something else? You will have to decide, hey, this is the field in which I'm going to excel. So that's the vision that the person sets for himself or herself. You need to, or an institution should commit itself to, here is an area in which we want to excel, and this is our vision. Once you have defined or decided your direction, your vision, the purpose of the organization, the next thing that you will have to be very, very clear is, how are you going to excel? That will depend on your values. I don't know how many of you would remember the Atlanta Olympics, in which Carl Lewis and the Canadian athlete Ben Johnson, both were 100 meters runners, and both had the aspiration to be the fastest runner in the world. So on the day of the event finals, 100 meters, Ben Johnson got the gold, and he almost gave 2 meters lead to Carl Lewis. But 2 days later, he tested positive for drugs, and the medal was stripped. And if I'm not mistaken, he lost that very day 5 million worth endorsements. Now, both had the same goal.
True.
The values that each of them practiced to get there was very different. So you don't excel by not having the right values. Your values become a very critical component. So when you want to excel, you should be clear about your vision. You should be clear about the values that will help you to achieve this vision. But these two alone would at the most be the two oars of a boat. But the one that will keep you moving, the rudder and the engine, is your ability to continuously learn. The day you stop learning, you will stagnate. So when I have created a culture in which there is absolute clarity on the vision, values, and one is willing to learn continuously, then the basic foundation for creating a culture of excellence is born. And if you really see how they play with each other, if you look at what does learning bring to values, if I'm a good learner, I gain clarity on my values. What does values bring to excellence? If I'm a person with strong conviction, then my yielding point is very, very strong. I don't yield easily. And to excel, you should have a strong will. Otherwise, if you give up in the very first instance of resistance that you come across, you are not going to excel. So therefore, values give us that conviction. And what does learning do to excellence? If you're a learner, you constantly innovate. You find something interesting. You find something more. You find another way to do something which is faster, quicker, cheaper, without losing quality. So therefore, learning becomes very, very critical. So if you see, when I have clarity, conviction, innovation, I'm willing to learn, my values are in place, I want to excel, then anything I produce will be of great quality.
That
Similarly,
is
what
so
does
true.
learning do to excellence? I mean, learning do to vision. If I'm a learner and if I have a vision, what my learning would do to my vision is it will keep me focused. If you see, when we were kids, we all had different visions. Somebody wanted to be a pilot, somebody wanted to be a teacher, somebody wanted to be this, But as we were growing up, all that fizzled out, all that went away.
True.
Now, if you are a learner and if you set a vision, there will be a number of distractions in life. A true learner will know that he or she is getting distracted, and learning will help you to come back to your purpose or your vision. What does vision bring to excellence? We talk about visionaries. Visionaries are those who can see things that others are not able to see and be there before others can be. So what vision brings to excellence is farsightedness, ability to see something which others are not able to see and be there before others can. So what is the bridge that learning provides to excellence? Focus. Excellence, vision to excellence is farsightedness, and learning to excellence is innovation. When I'm focused, farsighted, innovative, I'm willing to learn, my vision is clear, I want to excel, then anything I do, I bring value add. I bring a value addition. So we saw quality, we saw value addition. Now I'm focused, I have clarity on my values, I'm focused on my vision. It's important that my vision values should be aligned. I cannot give one more weightage than the other. The minute I place more weightage on my vision and less on values, then my boat will start going in circles. It's like if you use one word and not use the other word, the boat will go in circles. So when I have focus, when I have clarity, when my vision values aligned, I'm willing to learn, my vision is clear, my values are clear, then I will provide leadership. Now, let's say my vision values aligned, my conviction is very strong, I'm farsighted, and I want to excel. That is when I keep evolving as an institution or as a person. So if you really see, in a culture of excellence, we need these three things well defined: your vision, values, and learning, culture. And the bridges, people should have great degree of clarity, people should have strong conviction, there should be a great degree of innovation, there should be a lot of focus, there should be a lot of farsightedness, and a great degree of alignment between vision and values. When these six elements are part of the culture, then you can say that what will be the outcome is quality, value add, leadership, and evolution. So these are the basic ingredients of a very strong culture of excellence.
Got it. And now I can really relate things very beautifully, and how sequence is a very important factor here. That because in the last episode we discussed about human values, and while you were given example of how an athlete was basically stripped of all his medals and whatever he gained in his life, I mean, not just monetary, but as such also socially also, because he did have the vision, but probably the values were not correct. The will was there to win, but the values did not match to the will. So this is very beautiful correlation that you've actually taught us or really informed us about. So moving on, I wanted to know, like, and I'm sure everybody would want to know that why is it so important to focus on long-term impact while trying to create a culture of excellence? I mean, we've already set the bar, we have attained excellence in life, we have good human values. But why it is so important to focus on the long term impact of it?
The straightforward answer to the question is human potential is unlimited. Therefore, we don't know if where we have arrived is the end point. So, therefore, there is a continuous striving towards bettering ourselves or bettering the institution. And in the process, you keep nudging yourself towards excellence. Excellence is a journey. The day you have achieved complete excellence, where you are flawless, I think I would not hesitate to call that institution godly institution, and I wouldn't hesitate to call that person God, because that is a journey which seems to be almost next to impossible. But then that is where we are, and that is why this journey is a lifelong journey and a long journey. I will maybe give you two interesting case studies in the work that I have done, and I hold these two either work of mine or experiments of mine very close to my heart. One was I'm not naming the company because it doesn't really matter, but both are real life stories. One company where the head of HR training and development had attended my process in the earlier company. So when he went to the new company, he told his boss, we should get Sampath to help us build a culture of excellence. So the boss took some time before he called me to have a chat. And finally, when we met, it was a multinational company based out of Des Moines, US, and their Southeast Asia operations was in Chennai. So the president said, look, Sampath, we are a 900 million rupee company today, and we want to be 200 million company soon. I said, in crores, there were 90 crores. They wanted to be 200 crores. So I asked him, why 200? Why not 2,000? And he jumped out of the chair and said, do you understand anything about business? I told him, that doesn't really matter in the context we are discussing. What matters is, or what I understand is, human potential is unlimited. Why do you want to restrict it with a number? For some reason, he took me seriously. Not many people take me seriously. He said, I'm willing to take a plunge into what you're asking me to do. Let's get started. So we started, as I told you, we first got clarity on our vision, our values. We set goals that we needed to accomplish. We created a learning culture, and we put the senior team and all the critical influences within the organization through this process. To cut the story short, in the time that they were to be 200 crore, they were 480 crores. So when the parent company came for an audit, they mentioned in the audit report that 15% of top line has grown because of Dr. Sampath's intervention. It is documented. So therefore, I think somewhere we limit people. It's not that people have limitations. The limitations are in our mind, which doesn't allow us to realize our full potential. So for me, the journey towards excellence is one that allows us to realize our potential. That is the purpose of excelling. The other case study is I was the company which was building the second Penang bridge, which connects the mainland to Penang Island in Malaysia, was going through some challenge, and the company that was building was my client. And we were doing a lot of work for that company. And during one of my reviews, the MD was saying, Sampath, I have a challenge with this team. It's a huge project for us, $300 million, 4.5 year timeline. 1.5 years have gone by. They are 6 months behind schedule and they're still drawing money from the corporate, unable to manage the project from the project finance. Can you do something about it? So I said, well, I will give a try. No harm in trying. So I went and I worked with the project team, which was managing the project. So the first question I asked them was, hey, guys, do you have a vision for this project? They laughed at me. They said, we are a construction company. Today we will be building bridge, tomorrow roads, day after houses. Another day we will be building bridge. What are you talking about vision? So I said, go to Kuala Lumpur, even a $50 million company has a vision. You are a $300 million project, 4.5 year timeline. Why can't you think of a vision? To cut the story short, they created a vision for themselves, which was to build a world-class bridge that we will be proud of. They came up with values that they will live by during the project life cycle. They came up with 6 mission statements on safety, quality, innovation, profitability, timeline, and so on. And then we took them through, created a learning culture. And within 6 months of our initiative, they started managing within the project finance. They stopped taking money from the corporate. They finished the project 3 months ahead of schedule. And the 17.5 kilometer road on the bridge is Formula One standard road. National Geography covered the project under mega structures.
Wow.
So it was all possible the minute the group had a vision. They set the values that they will live by. And they built a learning environment amongst themselves. Suddenly things started falling in place. I mean, they found very innovative solutions. They had a challenge, interesting challenge. When you build such huge bridge across the ocean, these segments, they call them segments, huge segments, 30 meter, and the height is almost like 15 feet or more. They are likely to develop cracks, and they have to get a injection molded nipple through which they will inject a chemical that will seal the crack. Now, they were not getting enough of those from the vendor, and each nipple was very expensive. So the project team decided to take a mold of the nipple. They got the plastic molding company to mold 5,000 nipples, and the cost fell by almost, like they were paying $10 per nipple and they were able to produce a nipple at 40 cents.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't have shortage, so their work started moving faster. So therefore, like this, they were actually moving 10 segments in a month, and by the time in next 18 months they started moving almost 36 segments into the ocean. So they started innovating in every place. So therefore, when you create a culture of excellence, the performance gets directly impacted, and there is fun. You don't feel stressed in creating this. You enjoy succeeding when you have a culture of excellence, which is what happened in both these companies.
True. Beautiful journeys, I would say. But, while you were narrating these beautiful stories to us, your real life story, real life examples, I was just wondering that, what kind of role does leadership play here in creating this culture of excellence? Because as you mentioned, at least the places that you were, the companies that you worked with, it was probably the leadership that had faith in you. But in general, if we talk about what kind of role does leadership play here?
It's a very, very important question, Sandy. And leadership plays a very, very critical role. I jovially say that if there's only one person who can be spared for training, that should be the leader, CEO, or MD, or whoever that is. If there are two people, it should be the CEO and the COO, Chief Operating Officer and Chief Executive Officer, because they are the ones who are setting the direction for the company. And the rest of the company also looks up to them. We say that, and if you look at a pyramid structure of an organization, these are the people at the top, and the entire organization can see them, and they set the course for others to follow. So therefore, the commitment and conviction of the leadership in any such process is very critical. If they don't believe in it, it will be a utter failure. That is something that I've experienced. And whenever I see in my work, I don't see the commitment of the leader, I don't even continue the work. I say that this is not going to help you. Let's not waste each other's time and resources, and we move on. So it's a very important question, and leaders play a very, very critical role because people look up to the leader and follow what the leader does.
True, absolutely, very, very true. And I think their support is also very necessary in every sphere, especially when it comes to work. Their support is really, really necessary. Like if they can motivate you, they support you also.
So
So moving on, Dr. Sampath, I would really want to know, like, for all the people who are listening to us or watching to us right now, what is that advice, one piece of advice that you would give to someone who is actually trying to build this, culture of excellence in his personal and professional life? How can they
I think
attain it?
I think what is very important for anyone who wants to set out on this path of excellence is become very clear on what they want to excel, which is work on creating a vision for themselves and be very clear what are the values that they are going to live by during the course of the journey and adhere to that and keep the curiosity and willingness to learn alive all through the journey. If these three things are well rooted in an individual and well established in the way they operate and in the way they do things, they are already on the path of excellence. This is one book that I cherish even today, and I don't know how many times I've read it and how many copies I would have gifted to my friends. This book is Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach, where a ordinary seagull which flies only to go and get some fish and find some food for itself decides to excel in flying. And the whole book is about that journey of how it excels in flying. It excels so much that it is able to fly at the speed of thought.
Wow, wonderful.
Which means all of us are capable of that. It's nothing that limits us, but it is just that we are either conditioned or we are not willing to see a possibility or we are not open to something new. We are not very clear about what we can achieve and what we cannot achieve. We are also not very clear about how strong our conviction is, how strongly we believe in what we believe. Therefore, I think I would recommend the listeners to just Google this book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach, and even online copies are available. I mean, one should just read it, and you will get a sense of what we have been talking. How this seagull has a clear vision, his values are very, very clear, and he is somebody who is not stopping his learning. In spite of having become the fastest bird, he still feels, how can I be still better than what I am? I think when you are truly on the path of excellence, there comes a time that you no more compete with anybody, but you start competing only with yourself. It's like the golfer's journey. A golfer is not competing with somebody else. He's saying, how can I reduce my handicaps? How can I go under par? So therefore, I think it's a very beautiful journey, and it's also a very enjoyable journey. It will be enjoyable when it's your own vision that you want to live by. It is enjoyable when you cherish the values you believe in and live them. It's very exciting because when you build that curiosity of a child in you and don't let that child die in you and keep it alive.
Very beautifully said. In fact, I will really reiterate the same thing that you've been saying it for over and over again, that the human mind is actually, we do have unlimited potential. It is just that we restrict ourselves. Or probably our vision is not that clear that we start restricting ourselves. So, Dr. Sampath, thank you so much for this wonderful journey that you and me and together, all the listeners, we are on it together. If there's someone who really wants to get connected with you at this very moment and they'll really want to reach out to you and learn so much about mindfulness, human values, excellence and all this, how can they do it? What is the fastest way to reach you?
The best is email sampath at arpita.com, SAMPATH at ARPITHA.com. And if somebody wants to talk, I would say if they don't get a response to the mail, they should use my mobile, which is 98452 37922. I'm also in a journey to share what I've learned and what I continue to learn. There is one school from which I would never want to graduate, which is the school of life itself. So I make my notes every other day based on what I see and what I feel and what I experience, which I convert them into note or quote or poems and share it with people. We also have decided to create bite-sized stories. We call them the soul kathas. Those who are on Instagram can go to this handle called the soul kathas. You will find bite-sized videos, which gives you, each video gives you one insight, which might be very essential to make our own life a little more meaningful. So, one, you can reach me through my mail, which is the first choice I would give you. If that fails, you definitely can call me.
Or soul kathas. That's probably the social way to reach you. Maybe not the personal, but certainly a social way to reach you.
Where you can get to experience your own understanding and your own thought processes about various dimensions of life. There is nothing called as quick fix and prescriptions to excel. It's a journey which has its own ups and downs, has its own challenges. But if you have strong conviction, clear focus, and you're willing to learn, that is the most exciting journey one can have.
Willing to learn. I think that is something really important thing, and I think should be certainly the takeaway from today's episode of Mindfulness. Any hints about what listeners can expect for the next episode?
Uh, I think I will leave that as a suspense. Let's wait for what shows up in the next episode.
Okay, so curiosity kills the cat, huh? So you want them to be curious.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Sampath, for joining us once again. And thank you so much for navigating us through this beautiful series called Mindfulness and focusing upon the core human values of life, determination, will, excellence, so many things that, you really, basically, you're empowering our listeners. I would say in very simple words, you're just empowering them.
I think I'm not empowering them. I'm saying ways in which they can empower themselves.
True. Thank you
I
so much. And
really believe that each of us are our own teachers. And it's a fact that each of us are our own teachers. We don't take everything that's been told to us. We choose what we want to take and we choose what we don't want to take. The minute you are making the choice, then you are the teacher and you are the one who's guiding your own life. How can somebody else influence you? So
true.
therefore, we can only provide more options in front of anybody. The choice has to be made by the individual.
The choice certainly has to be made by the individual, and I think we are making the right choice here. Thank you so much, and thanks a lot to our lovely listeners who've been watching us and following us through this beautiful series, or who've been listening to us on Tal Radio. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.